The marriage vow you've honored as sacred contract is actually a meticulously constructed performance designed to conceal the rot beneath. And true survival requires not exposing the lie for vengeance's sake, but dismantling the illusion until your own perception becomes the only evidence you can trust. In My Lying Husband, S.E. Lynes delivers a domestic suspense novel that transforms the unreliable spouse trope into a searing exploration of female epistemology and cognitive sovereignty, proving that in relationships defined by gaslighting, liberation isn't found in catching him red-handed, it's forged in the radical act of believing yourself when every external signal demands you doubt. This isn't merely another twisty thriller with shocking reveals. It's a psychologically precise narrative where every affectionate gesture feels like both weapon and wound. Consent to stay is negotiated through self-trust rather than assumed loyalty, and healing means honoring the woman beneath the wife role when manipulation demands she remain confused. From the first perfectly brewed coffee narration, listeners are immersed in a world where domesticity is camouflage and presence is the only reliable alibi. Perfect for fans of emotionally intelligent psychological suspense and stories where female intuition defies systemic erasure, this audiobook serves up atmospheric dread, relentless emotional honesty, and a protagonist whose journey from disoriented spouse to sovereign witness resonates with anyone who's ever been told their reality was too inconvenient for polite company. When marketing executive Alara Vance begins noticing inconsistencies in her husband Julian's meticulously curated life, she expects marital fatigue, not to discover his deceptions mirror the exact pattern of suppression she's endured beneath years of performative compliance, and the quiet persistence of her own memory bypasses his polyspolitives to create space for a reckoning that defies therapeutic convention. But as she navigates shared spaces and buried truths, Alara realizes this investigation isn't about exposure, it's about integration. Lynes masterfully avoids reducing Alara to paranoid victim or Julian to cartoonish villain. Instead, she crafts a narrative where suspicion becomes therapeutic framework, where consent is renegotiated through acknowledgement of compliance rather than assumed innocence, and where freedom requires seeing the relationship's architecture before it consumes you. The audiobook narration amplifies this psychological vertigo, capturing Alara's disciplined composure fracturing into fierce clarity, while secondary voices shift subtly between performative concern and hidden agenda, making every conversation feel like both testimony and cross-examination. You don't just hear the mystery unfold, you feel the seismic shift of a woman learning that some truths can only be spoken when you stop letting others define what's real. What elevates My Lying Husband beyond typical domestic suspense fare is its nuanced portrayal of marital deception as inherited trauma rather than individual pathology. Alara isn't merely uncovering infidelity, she's confronting how respectability culture taught her to equate worth with harmony, challenging the notion that safety requires emotional detachment from her own instincts. Julian doesn't gaslight her through malice alone. He embodies a system that rewards male performance over female perception, honoring his autonomy even as his own facade crumbles. The relationship evolves through acts of radical reciprocity, sharing silences during tense dinners that bypass performance, establishing protocols that protect both psychological integrity and operational safety, and defending her right to question against relatives who mistake skepticism for hysteria. Supporting characters add vital texture, fellow wives whose loyalty encodes suppressed grief, therapist whose neutrality carries institutional weight, even the suburban home itself, rendered as living archive whose pristine surfaces absorb decades of unspoken bargains. Every interaction reinforces the novel's core truth. In systems built on erasure, attention is insurgency, and presence is the only sustainable resource. Even the thriller mechanics serve thematic depth, with clue discovery mirroring emotional attunement and domestic routines becoming metaphors for earned trust. For audiobook listeners, this production is an immersive sensory descent into elegant dread. The narrator embodies Alara and Julian with remarkable distinction. Alara's voice carries crisp intelligence laced with doting sovereignty, while Julian's smooth timbre trembles with suppressed calculation beneath disciplined cadence, making their chemistry palpable even during conflict. Sound design enhances atmosphere without overwhelming immersion. Distant neighborhood hum marking temporal rhythm. Rain against bay windows during vulnerable confessions. The hushed clink of dinnerware syncing with breath during moments of revelation. All anchor psychological stakes in tangible reality. Pacing mirrors the cadence of cognitive reclamation, deliberate during reflection and alliance building, then surging with urgency as external pressures collide with internal awakenings. Whether you're commuting through stable landscapes or sitting in twilight solitude, the audiobook creates a portable sanctuary where slowness feels sacred and embodiment feels lifeline. Its storytelling is somatic validation, transforming passive listening into active participation in a journey where justice isn't found in verdicts, but in restoration. Ultimately, My Lying Husband redefines psychological suspense by centering female epistemology within relational frameworks. It satisfies genre cravings for fair play clues and cathartic resolution, while delivering substantive commentary on marital gaslighting, masculine vulnerability, and the radical act of trusting embodied knowledge when systems demand conformity. No prior series knowledge is needed. It stands confidently as a complete emotional odyssey. If you've ever wondered whether strength can coexist with softness, or if true mastery requires embracing what others dismiss, this audiobook will affirm that sometimes the most powerful act is simply refusing to doubt yourself. Press play, lock the door, and prepare to believe that even in landscapes shaped by deception, hearts still find ways to speak. Your next favorite thriller isn't waiting in perfect solves. It's waiting in the brave, trembling choice to honor the whole truth.